Hello, hello.
Hello.
We coming through. Waiting for somebody.
Okay. Yeah, I think they can hear us now. Audio just came in. All right, I'll shut mine off. Who's yelling? Is that your house, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's usually my dogs that are barking. Okay, so if you all can hear me, I'll start, and Walker can chime in when he gets his stuff worked out. There is sound. Great. So what sparked this hangout was a couple of days ago, there was some things going on in the flat earth community. One of those things was Pastor Dean Odell. I had seen something that he put out, and he was claiming there were infiltrators, and something else that came out was Bob Knowdel versus Nathan Oakley. And then we had Horry sheet. And if you're not familiar with those things that are going on, then you should check them out. Let me see. Pastor Dean Odell talked about behind the curve, and he named some names about people in the conference, and he's talking about that situation, and it was not complimentary. And so I think it was all these things going on at the same time. I said, hey guys, we need to address some of this stuff. So we decided, I think it was 2 days ago, we decided to have this hangout. So when current infiltrators are exposed, the new ones will come and take their place. All right. This is something that we're going to introduce some biblical knowledge. And I'm going to just read this first passage, and we can apply this to what's going on. There's weeds in with the crops. Matthew 13:24-30. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seeds in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares, those are weeds, among the wheat. So we're the good wheat, and there's tares, which are not good. They're the weeds, okay? So during the night, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat. And then but when the blade was sprung up, which means when the wheat started coming up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also, which means, and this is King James Version, I'm sorry, that's the one I read. But when the wheat started sprouting up, also came the weeds up. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in your field? From whence hath it tares? So they're saying, well, why do you have so many weeds in your wheat field? And he said unto them, an enemy has done this. And the servants said to him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? So the servants are wondering, well, should we run through the wheat field and cut out all the weeds?
They just threw the earth.
And the master says,
Hey, Boxer, mute your mic.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So the master says, well, no, lest ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. So let them both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So what this is saying is sometimes you have bad amongst the good, and if we don't want to ruin the crop, which is the flat earth movement, then we're going to have to deal with the weeds or the insincere people, so we don't ruin the whole crop. You see, if we try and badmouth the insincere people, we're gonna kill some of the wheat, and we don't want to do that. So this is what it says in the Bible, that we should try and deal gently until the time of harvest. So, and I think that once the flat earth movement gets to close to critical mass, all those weeds are going to die off anyway. So what do you guys think of that idea?
Facts.
Say
Facts,
what?
100. Facts 100.
Facts?
Yes, those what you said was factual and true.
Oh,
It's
fact.
the word of
Okay,
the king.
factual. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, talk about the wheat and the tares. I mean, I don't know if anyone else saw it, but when Nathan Oakley called out all the logical fallacies that Bob was making, you know, vis-a-vis just being like any other baller, you know, making these same logical fallacies in regards to what real science is. So yeah, no, it's things are being separated, it seems, and
Yeah.
we're actually finally, you know, coming to, you know, further understanding about, you know, what's going on.
Right. And I think these are going to work themselves out. And we are growing. Gosh, the flat earth movement is growing. And that's probably why Paul Logan put out his hit piece today. They are getting scared.
Yeah.
Logan Paul.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Logan Paul. I don't know.
I totally skimmed through the entire video all the way up to the end, so I don't want to like over spoil it for everyone, but let's just say
Oh, the chat is already spoiled.
Oh, there
Somebody
you
put
go.
out the
Well,
ending
yeah.
to it.
I should be watching the chat. There you go.
Yeah, no, I'm not watching a chat. When you were doing some technical stuff, I went and looked at it, and somebody had already put, maybe it was Zoom, who put out the ending. So, but that's
how's,
okay.
My microphone coming through, by the way. Am I getting any echo, any reverb, anything like that?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool.
Well,
'Cause
for
I'm getting
us, yeah, but ask the chat. See
Yeah.
what the chat says.
So what do you guys think in the chat? We'll just keep going.
Okay. All right. There's another Bible reference that I saved for down near the end. Okay. Okay, so these people who are like so-called leaders in the flat earth movement, I'm going to say that they're not just average people. I think that they're professional and are placed here in our midst so they can deceive us. Now, who those people are, I'm not going to name. They will be revealed whenever. But the thing to do is to follow no man. And I can't tell you how many times I have said that. We are following the facts, and we're following what we know, what we studied.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to follow any man or any group of men or people or any of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Romans 3:4. Let God be true and every man a liar.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Boxer, you can chime in, Boxer, anytime, hon.
You're good, brother. But I was gonna say, yeah, like concerning all that. I'm sorry, I'm getting like feedback on my thing. Let me move this up.
We don't
So,
hear anything.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
could I just
concerning all that, basically, this is my take on it, and like I've pointed this out many times before on my channel, and I said, everybody should be their own authority of truth, and when we start, relying on, this person's putting out this knowledge, therefore they're the credible source of knowledge, we forget that we're the one who decides what's credible, not that person. And some
Right.
people get caught up or swept up in the movement, and they're seeing these people putting out these videos, and they're like, wow, a lot of these videos are good. So then they start holding everything that they're saying in almost all their videos as truth. And what they're not realizing is that we all do this. We're all humans, so we're all going to kind of put a little bit of ourselves in everything. I mean, some of us do it knowingly, some of us unknowingly. It's just the nature of humanity. But people need to remember that when you're dealing with truth, because truth is an inner compass. It's not an external compass. It's not like
Right.
you're getting your direction from this guy, that guy, and that guy. You get your direction from you, and it's essentially what you're doing is you're absorbing the information and making your own credible decision. So when people
Yeah.
say, who are the shills in the movement? Who are the deceivers in the movement? Who are the ones that are real within? Who are the ones who actually hate their job and are miserable, and passing that knowledge on to everybody? That's for you. Like, that's a personal journey, because if you're worried about your source not being a credible source, then you're not getting the message. The message is you're supposed to be the credible source, not them, not whoever you're listening to. So regardless of whether they're a shill or not, if the information's valid, it's valid. Period. It has nothing to do with the person. It doesn't mean that that person's more valid or any less valid. It's just the information itself. So you got to learn to, I mean, us as a community, and I'm addressing the public as a whole, is that we have to learn to assimilate this information or this understanding in the correct pathway, like allowing ourselves to take it in without being forced down our faces or down our throats.
Yeah. The Bible says, be discerning. We
Yeah,
have to discern what is right and what is not.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Speaking of discernment, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. If you're aware of a 15 degree per hour ether rotation, then why would you do an experiment on a documentary that specifically sought out to to try and demonstrate or not demonstrate the rotation of the Earth, and then accidentally, oops, I discovered the 15 degree rotation of the ether. So,
Well, that I think that's a complicated issue. Like, for one thing, I'm not. I'm going to play like advocate here, and I'm going to say um, that was presented to us. So
of
that again
course,
falls into the external authority situation category, because you have a documentary video that is presenting a sort of narrative. Now, regardless of the individual that was behind that, involved in that information, you're not going to get the full story of that. Nobody's ever going to get the full story except for that person or whoever was there at the moment.
Right.
So,
yeah.
um,
But don't get me wrong. I'm not
yeah,
saying anything or accusing anyone. It
right,
just
right,
simply, it
right.
simply just doesn't make sense to me. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. And you know
what?
what? There's contradictions that we all can do and we all probably shouldn't be doing, and some of those need to be addressed. But uh, as far as like the authority of that, I think that's up to the individual themselves. They should be the authority of themselves of what they're going through with that scenario. As far as what they said and how they said it and how it was carried. I'm sure Bob Knowdel and all these other guys are kicking themselves, and saying like, "What the crap," And some people are saying, "Oh, well, if these persons may be this or that." Hey, that's your opinion, but if you're looking at it from my point of view, nothing's safe. There's no information that you can get out there that's really going to be safe. If it's in the public, it's in an authority's hands. You guarantee they're going to use it to their benefit, whether you're for
Okay.
the movement or not. So,
We're going to touch some more on these other things, like, in the same vein. So we may touch on exactly what you're getting at. As a matter of fact, I think we will. So, so how do these deceivers get in? How do infiltrators get into the movement?
that's pretty simple, right? It's a popularity contest. So the
Yeah.
the deception works is it's got to blend in, but it's not just got to blend in, it's got to stand out. So the peacockers, the uh, you know,
Look at me.
yeah, those are the ones you got to watch out for. I'm not saying that that's, but I'm just saying use discernment. I mean, there are no models in this movement. There are no you know I don't know, whatever you want to call it, celebrities in this movement, and everybody keeps trying to say, oh, he's a celebrity and he's doing this, but you know what? You're giving him that power by putting him on the pedestal of celebrity. So
Well, some who have been named were setting themselves up as leaders of the flat Earth movement, and they said it themselves. So I'm really offended at someone who is going to set themselves up as a leader
that's
of the
a
flat
that's a
Earth
human
movement.
folly too. That's
I I think that's just horrible. And
That is
how
really
dare
bad.
you? How dare you say that? So I hope you're listening, because I'm saying to you, how dare you say that?
That's how
Um,
men without kings say. That's what men without kings say. And we have a king named the Messiah, named
that's
Jesus.
right.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Truth,
Yes.
truth
Yes,
be
Tyree.
told, there's not a average person walking on this earth that isn't in equals odds with each other. So we're all on the same level.
Yeah. Yeah. So be careful what you say, you know. Um, so I've had red flags up, and some of the things I've said, okay, well, that didn't sound right to me. But then I chose to ignore them, thinking, oh, it's me. There's something wrong with me. Well, I'm here to tell you that you should not ignore those red flags. If something is not right, you've got to address it, or file it back here in your mind somewhere, and then start taking tabulation. And don't think there's anybody that's that's beyond reproach. You should, no matter who it is, if they come to you and say, "Oh, I'm a pastor of a church," and not, this is not to say anybody in particular, but, "Oh, I'm this or I'm that," "Oh, I'm a whatever. I'm a Boy Scout." Okay, say that. Don't just take them at that and say, "Oh, well, then I can trust them 100%." No, you can't do that. This is very important. The flat earth movement is very important, and we all have to be aware and on our toes. What do you think of that, guys?
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Um, Boxer, what you doing right now?
He's walking.
You got mute, by the way.
Oh, he's muted.
Oh, he's probably can't even hear us.
I'm
There you
getting
go.
water.
Oh,
I'm very thirsty.
Oh, there you are.
okay. As long as there's
Uh,
no background noise, guys, you don't have to mute your mic.
Well,
Okay.
I'm out in the world, so I can't predict exactly when that's going to happen.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I locked my dogs away tonight, so they're not going to bark. So,
But yeah,
so
I
my
agree with everything
mother,
y'all said.
my mother always said to paddle your own canoe. And I think that's very sage advice for us as flat earth activists. Do not be afraid to go out there by yourself, because you are totally in control of your banners and your setup. I mean, it's nice to have somebody there with you, but if you're going to feel compromised, or if you're going to feel that, you're not sure about this other person, don't let that, steal away all these people that you're going to be meeting that day. Get out there and do your own thing, and just know that we are all behind you. We want you to contact us, and we will give you helpful advice on how to do things. And we're going to try and do this more often, and we're going to bring some people on who are just starting out and need some of that advice. So another thing I have here is, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So how do they get in? They worm their way in by pretending to be your friend. They'll tell you anything. And ladies, you can be seduced by another lady. So don't think that a woman coming and saying, "Oh, well, you're just so wonderful," and all that. No, it's not beyond a seduction. You can be praised, and they will appeal to your emotions, and they'll get you all like feeling so good. So this is how they get us. This is what the government uses with their Bernays marketing and all that. They appeal to our emotions. So don't live by emotions. Live by principles. What do you say to that, guys? You ever been seduced?
Seduced by this chat. No, I was watching what Christopher was saying, and I think it was a misunderstanding. So, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Have you?
that was my fault,
Okay.
Christopher. I'm sorry. I timed him out for like a minute or whatever, because
I thought it was for profanity, because I noticed he kept dropping cuss bombs and getting blocked. So I was like, oh crap.
No,
F-bombs.
it was a misunderstanding. I thought he was attacking Zoom and calling him a shill or whatever. Apparently, he was just joking. So whatever.
Ah, okay. Well, we all need to get to know each other, guys. That's
Yeah,
good.
but we don't have to be F-bombing anybody on this chat.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to address. So I don't know if you guys notice my old activism videos. Like occasionally I swear, I cuss, profanity or whatever. But lately I've been just trying to avoid that. So little by little, I'm kind of cutting it out of my work. So just trying to move away from that sort of speech and things like putting God's name in vain and other things like that, just from my spiritual side. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good when you curse, and
yeah, totally.
I'm guilty of it too, and I'm not perfect, and nobody is. But also, and you're in the same boat, trying to curb my speech. If I can't control my speech, then I can't control you know anything. So
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Guys,
Right.
bring up. How long have you guys been going?
You cut out for a second.
we just
How
started.
long? Oh, y'all just started.
Yeah.
There's the cursing thing. I think a big part of what the shills do, what oftentimes raise a red flag to me, and it's not 100% of the time, but when someone intentionally, well, it's hard to think the fact that Mark Sargent, well, not these the people who are suspect, never mention the Bible, never mention the Messiah, or very rarely do, or only in passing. And I think one big purpose of the shilling and misdirection is to hide and obscure the fact that the flat earth movement is, at least in large part, I'd say at least 70% Christian movement. And hiding that it's not an accident. The fact that that so rarely comes up is to hide this fact from Christians who haven't woken up to this stuff yet.
Amen.
Good point.
I think a lot.
Seems to be.
Yeah, I totally agree, Boxer. I think a lot of the big channels aren't the Christians, and they don't have any motivation to go out and share the truth, and it's really sad. But
That, and I'd like to also point out, without getting a strike from YouTube here, is saying in recent current events, certain religious aspects have been attacked by certain organized events. Uh,
Yeah.
It's getting obvious at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're gunning for, and I don't mean that in a literal sense, but when you're shooting for, okay, I'm doing it again. When you're moving towards something that is, let's just say, very refined and definite, and it's the constant topic, and they're constantly pushing agendas towards this thing, it should be obvious at that point. It should be, at least in
Yeah.
my opinion.
And to follow up there, and the big channels who are not mentioning God, but there's also the big channels who do mention God, but then those don't like activism. They have nothing to say about activism. So it's either activism or God or not, or I don't know. They're not like getting on the whole scheme of things here. I mean, what activism needs to be right up there, top priority, guys. And it's not happening with the big channels. So
Well,
yeah, and if they're not going out and doing activism, at least promote people who are. That's it. That's all we're saying. That's all Maryland's trying to say.
yes, promote, support, or do it.
Yeah, amen.
And do it well. You could learn a few things from us, guys. All right.
Real quick.
I humble myself. I'm no master.
Yeah, real quick. Like we're saying, it makes sense. Like, why would they hide the flat Earth, right? Because they're hiding God. So
Yeah.
what would be a shill or an agent's agenda as a controlled opposition within the movement of flat Earth would be to also lead people away from knowing who their Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ, and their Creator and God, and having a personal relationship with Him, and pursuing that. And I've always said Jesus is the bottom of the rabbit hole. He's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So, and that's why it's important that that we not only wake people up by doing activism, but we also kind of try to put some heat on the on other channels to start promoting it at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, another topic here we had was talking heads. How do you find a good channel Well, I always look at what they're putting out. Okay. If you look on the television, you see talking heads, and those are the things that just are, they drew us away. They led us astray. So if you look at somebody's YouTube channel, look at what they're putting out. If they're just a talking head, if that's all you see is their face and yada, 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 I don't think that's a very good channel. Especially in the activism realm, what we need to see is, who are we talking to? I mean, we need to see that they're out there doing something, talking to other people, doing activism, and it's not about them. I know this one channel, and I just, for the life of me, can't understand why anybody would watch it. I'm just lost. Why would they sit there and watch this person? You know, all he does is talk. I don't have time for that. I'm out doing activism.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
holy cow.
I mean, we could barely fit, one of these like once a month.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So we don't need to be wasting our time on talking heads. So look at their channel, see what they're all about. And not every channel that has Flat Earth in the title has a sincere heart, nor even an understanding of Flat Earth. And some will deceive you on purpose. The one channel that came to mind was Flat Earth Math, MATH. That was a guy who's a school teacher, a math teacher at a school, and he named his channel Flat Earth Math. But he's a globalist. So why would you do that? So be very careful, discerning what you're looking at. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, exactly. Discernment, yeah, and I wanted to touch a topic about the talking head aspect and the activism aspect kind of moving
Yeah,
together with that. And that is like, okay, I I appreciate that certain people are out there doing activism, uh, but no offense from a personal standpoint, engagement is probably one of the most important parts about activism. So if you're someone who flees from engagement, from making contact with someone, uh, you're not necessarily doing activism per se. You're more making a statement. I mean, real activism should be more communication with the lifeblood of society. Like you should be able to go out there and be able to have conversations and to actually initiate those conversations. In my opinion, I'm not telling people
sure.
how to do their job, but I'm just saying that if you look like you hate your job, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
I've
there's
never
other
seen.
ways. I mean, we do have activism where you drop cards and you can do all that to start out. But yeah, you're right. At some point, you need to be engaging.
I think he's referring to activism versus standstillivism. I think because confrontation, dun dun dun. Nobody wants to be confrontational, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But this truth matters. It's that important. Where, I'm not now every situation is it okay to accost somebody on the street, right? Nobody wants to be like, hey, well, like, leave me alone, But like if you could be polite about it and just say, hey, free information. Hey, can you want to check this out?
Yeah.
Real scientific evidence. And if they keep running, it's okay. Have a nice day,
Yeah,
But
exactly.
this truth is important enough to where I think it matters, and it's okay in certain situations to confront somebody,
Yeah.
especially when they don't want to hear it.
And don't I get that people are frustrated out there being in front of people. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe there's another motive. But what I'm saying is, it's a very difficult thing to address the public in a general sense. But don't insult other flat earthers for being outgoing because they're getting the message out very well. Even if they run into like 10, 15, 100 people that are like, get away from me, they have a better chance of seating 100, 200, 300 other people. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you. I get that you're offended by people who are okay. Maybe I'm talking specifically here, but I get how some people can be offended about how others could be outgoing and say I like to reserve myself. But in actuality, for anything, like if you're a presenter, if you're a business salesman, if you're anybody who speaks to the public, you have to learn how to initiate. And if your initiation is just this,
Yeah.
All right, bring
you know
it
what I'm
back.
saying?
Yeah,
Bring
come
it
back.
back. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Come back a little bit, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, I have to tell you, I have never seen you be disrespectful to anyone. So, and I've watched a lot of your content, and
Yeah,
you've
same
always
here.
been very pleasant and approachable, and people were happy to speak to you. So, yeah,
thank
you have nothing to be ashamed about.
And here's the thing: everyone has an opinion, right? Just like a, But if you don't like the way that somebody's doing something, you just go out there and you do it yourself, and you do it the way that you think it should be done. It's that simple.
All you have to do is match your hours of activism against anybody else's, and I think you'd win.
No, but he's right. Like even the fact that I'm like critiquing and criticizing,
Well, it
I could
hurt
be
your
falling
feelings.
into that same kind of trap.
Right. Yeah, but it offended you.
It did. It did because it was directed.
Yes.
Okay, I'm
yes.
sharing too much.
So
we're all guilty of that too, though. Like just like leaving a comment on somebody's activism video where it's like, "No, dude, you should have said this or you should have done that," and blah blah blah. And it's like you can't help it. We're all guilty of like Monday morning quarterback kind of syndrome. But hey, more the reason to get out there yourself and start showing people how it's done.
Yeah.
Or not showing them how it's done.
Yeah, and
either way,
since you brought up that, I always take off on my channel. I never allow any negative comments or any curse words or anything bad on my channel. So if you're going to post something where you're criticizing, like especially the kids at colleges, when I go to colleges, people will come on there and say, "Oh, those kids are really stupid," and I just delete, because I am not going to allow those kids, because I was there once. I was that stupid person once, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to allow that. So you want to come on my channel, make sure it's a nice comment.
Yeah.
Right. Constructivism, constructive comments is a good thing. It's another thing entirely to be poisoned with negativity.
Right.
Yeah. Toxic. Yeah. Exactly.
I have even had people bully me. "Oh, you took down my comment. Oh, you've got to leave that up there. You're not fair, and and trying to bully me. That ain't happening."
Yeah. No.
No way.
Yep.
I remember, because I can only speak personally, but I used to be such a negative person, man. Like seriously, like every single word or sentence that came out of my mouth was negative. And I didn't even realize it until somebody pointed it out to me in rehab like 10, 15 years ago, like way back in the, in my past. But it's the thing that's like more prevalent than like we even know or notice. Like a lot of people are just completely they can't even, like they're not even capable of a positive comment. And like I was the same way until somebody pointed it out to me, and it really took me for a loop. I was like, man, he's right. Like nothing I say or do or think is not positive. And
right.
your life suffers because of that. And then you know what I mean? And then that's why you need faith, I think personally in the Lord to kind of guide you and give you courage to get through all that and work on yourself and learn and research flat earth and then get out there and start spreading the truth.
Yeah.
How's it going there, Boxer?
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
I was thinking about your comment on the possibility that an approach could be taken as or appear to be rude or confrontational, and how one shouldn't fear that, and the way to not one way to not be self-conscious about that or be made self-conscious about that, because I mean that is a concern. Sometimes I'll go up to somebody like I was leaving the science fair, and I was pulling out of my spot and driving by, and there's a mother and a child, mother and I see the child was maybe 10, 11, 12 or something, maybe 13, wearing a NASA shirt, and I rolled down my window was already down, and they were walking to the science fair, and I said, "Hey, excuse me," and the mother stopped, and I asked them, I just went through the basic, if water's flat and level, and the Earth is covered in water, how could the Earth be a ball? And I don't think this woman was terrified or scared per se, but she definitely seemed as if she was socially unprepared for the interaction.
Yeah.
And she was entirely frozen, and it was as if she was pretending to be mute while also trying to be polite. Like, it was a very bizarre, but I understood what was going on.
Yeah.
She wanted to not be rude, but she was also kind of scared and just wanted the interaction to end. And a lot of people are like that because there isn't really such thing as community in most places, in a lot of places anymore. And most people think that mass shootings are real, and that there's a good chance they could get shot by a crazy person on the street. And the truth is, a lot more people are crazy than used to be crazy. And you can't, and not everyone has that worldview. Not everyone is a panicked bovine, type creature in constant fear of danger. But a lot of people are. But as long as you keep your approach that reasonable, in fact, and sane, you'll figure it if you're an activist just starting out, you'll figure out what works for most people, and you don't have to worry about whether or not you can't control how skittish people are. You can't control how tight people's boxes are.
Yep.
That sounded weird. You can't control. So you just play your strategy and keep trucking. You can't judge yourself based on other people's reactions. Is the shortened way to put it.
When I was in, okay.
My dude said the word bovine. Moo.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, when I was in sales training, we had what they call the law of the averages and like statistics on somebody's beeping.
Oh, that's Boxer.
Boxer.
He's good.
Boxer, you're beeping. So when we called it hooray for the nose. NOS, hooray for the nose, because statistically, you get so many no's, and then you have to get a yes.
Yeah,
that is the statistics. So you're going to get no, 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 but then a yes is coming. So hooray for the nose, because once they're done, I'm getting a yes. Okay, so that's how you've got to keep thinking on that, and don't get discouraged. There's two things here with this society, since you brought that up, Boxer, is society used to have stump speeches. I don't know if you ever heard of that term before, stump speeches. Mm-hmm. Actually, what they used to do was stand on an old tree stump and make a speech. And this was happening all over the place, okay? Politicians, preachers, anybody. They go to the town square, stand on a log, and just start telling everybody whatever's on their mind. So we've lost that, and that's valuable. We need to get that back. Yeah. And the other thing is...
Sorry, it could also be dangerous. I think pretty sure that's how the Mormon religion started.
That's
you ever
enough
heard
out of
that, there are no front porches? Is anybody familiar with that?
Front porches?
Yeah, they said that they got rid of front porches because people used to conversate a lot and have conversations in front of their house. So they basically planned to stop implementing them into blocks because they thought they didn't want a bunch of people hanging outside. So it was a way to keep people from communicating with each other by basically stop producing houses
it's
with
sinister.
front porches. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's sinister. It's demonic. It's totally evil. And that was the other thing I was going to say was government has trained us to not speak to each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's horrible. We've got to get rid of this demon. So when you're out there, you want to go do activism, you're saying, I'm going to fight the devil today and I'm going to go out and talk to somebody. You can tell yourself that, and that's the truth.
Amen. Even if we're online at the 7-Eleven, just throw a card in somebody's hand. You're like, hey, can I give you this? Free information, real scientific evidence.
Yeah.
Don't be the last to know.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't always know when somebody is deceptive, but we got to keep account of suspicious behavior. And when things start adding up, then create distance between you and that person. Don't be afraid to say no. Okay. All right. So actions of an infiltrator. What kind of actions do they have? So my notes are, they're not sincere. They want to be your friend. All
people pleasers.
Yes. People pleasers. Yes. All sincerity is in their words and not in their actions. Isn't that something? That's like the talking head kind of thing. They always want to party. They're drinking all the time or doing drugs or something like that. They gain your trust and then do stupid things to frustrate you. They say it's stupid, but I think it's planned. Okay. They find out something personal and then they try to ruin you or control you with that. So what do you guys think of that? The actions of an infiltrator. What kind of things can you recognize? What do they do?
I would say sincerity. Like that would be one of the main key ways of noticing. Like you could tell when people are sincere, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe for me, it's easy to pick up on that, but other people, I feel like don't really get that. But yeah, I mean, there's certain things that if you do and they're very powerful and they're very emotional and spiritual and uplifting and beautiful, you would expect a specific type of reaction, some sort of emotion towards that. But some people, you could tell when they're not sincere, rather than having that reaction, they have what is called like a gap filler, where they place instead just something like where it's just like whether a talk or whatever, instead of emoting they just replace it with something else. And I don't know, I've noticed that
they divert, like
it's
they
like
go
a
on
diversion.
these little
It's
diversions.
it's like pulling things off the emotion and focusing them on something else, whereas in a genuine person will acknowledge whether something is powerful or not, or
Right.
so I think some of the quote unquote watch list people are usually the ones that just seem to don't emote very well. They don't seem to show the humanistic characteristics that you'd expect very well. I don't know. Maybe that's very general and vague. But I think that helps some people.
Well, I'm pretty sure we could look up right now the top 10 ways to detect the psychopath, and we could pretty much use that as a handbook guide to
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, because the psychopaths are like really intelligent, they're really smart, and they're really you know what I mean, they're like manipulative, and just all the signs basically. And I'm glad that I actually had an opportunity to go to the 2018 Flat Earth Conference in Denver, because it gave me the opportunity to meet people in person and see what they were all about. Like you can really tell a lot of about somebody from the way they act, their mannerisms and their inflections and their voice and everything. So I and obviously won't mention names, but it really disturbed me, the fact that when certain big celebrity flat earthers were introduced, there were people in the crowd screaming, woo, woo, we love you, yeah, woo, yeah, like
Yeah.
completely deifying these people, and that made me like vomit, in my lap. But not only that, but I was outside talking with a bunch of people outside, talking and everything in between, and one person was like, man, I'm such a party animal, you know what I mean? And I was like, dude, seriously? Like that might have been cool when you were like 18, 21, but like
Right.
you're in your 30s now, like it's time to grow up and like it's not cool to be an aging hipster. No, you know, like
Right.
it reminds me of that Dr. Evil, nobody likes an aging hipster. So, but yeah, no, it's
Exactly.
yeah. So it's if you use your own discernment, you can and you meet people, you can definitely tell what they're all about, and pretty much in not in 5 minutes, but you can get an idea. Well, hang out with them for an hour, I'd say, and you can really find out what someone's all about.
Do you have something to add, Boxer? No? Hello. Okay. Do you have something to add there, Boxer, Tyree?
No, I cut out for a sec.
Okay.
As far as sincerity and psychopathy, yeah. So I think what that was something resonated with me there. Like a psychopath is someone who's acting like their whole life they're acting. Their emotions are insincere because they don't identify with themselves. So they're just playing a character in order to achieve their ends perpetually. So even if you're dealing with the shill or an actor or an art or a watch list person, the reason they seem insincere is whether or not they're psychopaths internally, like deep down. If they're acting, an actor is by necessity a sociopath. The psycho, he's not legitimately invested in the role that he's playing because it's alive.
Because they're in
It's not
character.
in character, yeah. When a character has a motivation, an agenda, or whatever that is not consistent with the goals of the the actual goal, which is to spread the truth. So
Right.
anytime something that's real comes up, they don't know how to deal with that, and it's hard to control something real because it might not fall within the confines of the agenda. So it needs to be reined in by like a, oh yeah, that was interesting. Now let's you ever notice this blah 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 blah? It's entirely unrelated. Yeah, I see his point. I understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Just
One of the
confirmed it.
people that was mentioned earlier this evening just found out today that he's an actor. I saw one of his commercials. So, oh, there goes another one. Chalk another one up. You know, you can't deal with these actor people. They have dissociative something it's called, where they can like break away
Dissociative
from
identity
themselves.
disorder.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I'm
And that's that's the same thing about like, and in that realm they have the like the kids who are abused and whatnot, dissociative disorder, the same kind of thing.
I don't
So
know if that's true with all actors, but in order to act by definition, you kind of do, in a sense, have to dissociate from your, your real
right.
self. All are sus, but I know that Horry. Okay, here we are. But I know that dude was sus. I'll be out, and you guys don't have to agree with me. Don't even if you're watching this and you don't like and you don't. I mean, whatever. I
Go
think
ahead.
I
Go
don't.
ahead,
let's
Boxer.
hear
You're
it. Let's
fine.
hear it.
I'm not with Mans. Mans is he was shilly. He back shills. I'm not with him. So like he he's weird. If you're how about this? If you're willing to debase yourself and lie for money, maybe this ain't for you. And maybe and if you don't got the Holy Spirit, if you haven't repented in the name of the Messiah, bro, like you shouldn't expect trust from anybody because what means anything? What is the truth to you? What
And
isn't worth selling out?
I,
So yeah,
I
why
do
should
want to interject for a second, hopefully, if that's okay.
yeah, shoot,
Um,
yeah.
so let's just go ahead and say it. I'm talking about Hori right now. Um, I don't think he's personally. I don't think he's a shill or anything like people think. I think he's a very troubled kid. He's young. He's lived probably a very uh, complicated life, and he's got some issues that he needs to handle, and that's whatever. But whether he's a shill or not, that's to be debatable, and I understand how some people feel, and other people probably don't feel that way. But I just want to give a little bit about myself and say I'm no perfect person either, because before the flat earth I was just as ignorant, dumb and naive as all the rest of the humanity that's stuck right now. So, when it comes to, because he looked very young in that video. I don't know if you guys agree with me with that, but it looked like something that may have been done way before flat earth. And I can understand that. I mean, I can understand making mistakes because you don't know the nature of your reality, but what are you doing with it now? So, not that I'm calling out Horry, God bless him. Um, you know, I just only wish nothing but the best for him or anybody else. And then that's just because life's a very complicated thing. So, I if you have that information now and you want to make a change, I suggest Horry definitely finding your spiritual self. I don't know if you have been or not. I don't want to make that assumption, but that is definitely the way to go, man. And if you are sincere about what you're trying to do in this community and come back and do stuff, there's a lot of people out there would like to see a good person come back. So, not to say you weren't a good person before, but you could tell you were struggling with some stuff. So, you
Yeah.
know, that's just me being honest. Like, I'm not trying to call the guy out. I feel like he's a very human individual, just like we all are. And I think it's way more complex than is being presented. So that's just my little 2 cents.
Well,
It all goes back to personal relationship with your creator, with knowing who God is. Like it's flat, guys. So now what?
yeah.
There's a God, and now who is
Yeah.
that? Who is that God? And it's not
Right.
easy. It's a struggle, man. Like it's nobody just gets born again overnight. Like that's not how it happens. Like your old self falls away slowly as you just start to desire righteousness.
And the
And
more you learn and you
right,
learn the law, then it reveals more things in you.
and
I
you
mean,
well,
I'm still on my journey, and it's been many years. I'm not going to say how many. But yeah, so Horry, you can come back, repent and come back and just leave your devil mask at home. I mean, don't bring the devil mask back. I
And
He's
don't
a
want
damn
that.
monarch
and
butterfly.
and stay away from the, because I know he drinks beer, and I'm not talking smack about any flat earthers out there who drink beer, but just know that that alcohol, that name brand booze that you so choose, is designed to literally eat out your brain. So
Yes.
um, be careful with that. You know what I'm saying? Have
You
love
don't
for
need it.
yourself, homie.
You
Like
don't need it.
yeah, have some love for yourself. You don't need it. If there's good in you, it'll come out. So let it come out. You know. All right. So let's stop talking about Hori.
All right. No,
I
okay.
feel bad, the poor guy.
All right. How to recognize a sincere channel. So we're going to go on the positive here.
Yeah, let's do that.
So, all right. We are
Just
the
call it
first
Flat Earth
contact.
Boxer.
We are the first contact with the general public. We hear their arguments first. A good channel will not be silly and will never make fun of flat earth. Okay? They will be sober of mind and sober physically too. They will remember that flat earth is the key to exposing all the other lies that enslave us. So don't listen to what a channel will say. More so, listen or watch what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so what they say and what they do could be different things. Do they seek activism where they will reach the most people? Do they use their activism as a training tool for you? Do they put out a lot of original content? They will focus on the people and not promote themselves. They only the only time my face is on camera is when I'm going to an event and I'm in the car driving. You've seen those where I'm driving to an event, an activism event, and I'm telling you about what's going on there, or maybe coming back from one. I'll tell you what happened or something.
we're singing Flat Earth Man.
Yeah, yeah. Or I'm teaching. I did a teaching thing the other last week. So I have my face on camera then. Okay, the other one is They will make videos showing their outreach for training purposes and not for entertainment. So there are some channels who just want to put out fun things. Well, no, we're out there to reach the public. So what do you guys think of that idea? Anything? How to recognize a sincere channel?
I think those are good points for sure. You
Well, of
know,
course.
yeah. What is it? Judge by the works and not by the. I forgot how that saying goes, but judge by works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what you
What they
see is,
do.
yeah, what they do, and what they're working for is really the main bread and butter. So, vegan butter.
Yeah, I like all of our channels on here. We're not the only good channels, but we have some good channels here in the U.S.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to, I think his name is Justin Harvey. He just got Roundup banned in Orlando, or I'm pretty sure he's on his way to the legislative process of getting that done. So yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout out. That was a great job, brother.
I didn't know that. What was that? Tell me what it was.
I think he runs the We Are Change Orlando Facebook page, and his name is Justin Harvey, and he's working out the legislature or the bill making process to get Roundup, which is actually an ingredient known as glyphosate, which is responsible. It causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's very dangerous. People use it all the time, so got to spread that information awareness as well. Stop using Roundup. No Roundup, people. Put the Roundup away. Throw it out.
It's also linked to gluten intolerance because they spray it on the wheat. So there's a connection there if you are gluten intolerant.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, like the whole agricultural industry of America has probably been using it in their crops and their fields for over 30 years, and we've all been being slowly poisoned with it. Probably, I'm sure. I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah. So yeah, just another reason why that's another big victory right there, getting Roundup banned in Orlando. Hopefully Florida statewide and then nationwide, hopefully soon.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, Boxer's home.
Cool. What is?
Was that your cat?
It's my roommate's cat.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Right. So what's next on the docket?
The principles that we go by.
Nice.
All right. So here we have these infiltrators, and what's happening here is I'm going to read Luke 11:24-26. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and finding none, he says, I will return to my house that I came out. And when he comes, he finds it swept and garnished, which means it's all clean and fixed up. And then he goes in, and he takes to him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. And they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. So what that really is saying is, if you get rid of somebody, like an infiltrator, if you deal with that person or whatever, and you just like go back there, or you don't learn anything from that experience, you could end up far worse than you were in the first place. And if these infiltrators in our movement are paid, and if they're sent here to destroy the flat earth movement, then believe me, they've got plenty more where the first ones came from. So if the first ones leave, don't think that we've got this problem solved. Don't ever let your guard down. You've got to stay vigilant and be aware all the time, because they will send the next person that comes, they will be better than the first one that got discovered. The second one will make sure to not be discovered. You understand what that's saying?
So you're saying like
it reminds me of what's that syndrome where you love your captor, Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
we become obsessed with these whatever agent video channels or whatever, and when they go away, we're like, no, give me my truth entertainment back. I want to just sit down
Yeah.
and veg out to some flat Earth.
My
Yeah.
favorite Truth Entertainment channel just got deleted, and that was Astronaut. Has anybody seen his channel? It's amazing.
Oh
Um,
yeah, he got deleted. He's done. He's gone.
yeah, he was doing stuff
Wow.
on the, I believe the the recent current event thing. Anyway,
What, the
he's
New
got a
Zealand
backup
thing?
channel. It's called Astronaut 2. So
Okay.
with I think it's Roman numeral 2.
Cool.
So yeah.
So, the infiltrators, we got to
Yes, I'm
stay
sorry.
vigilant. We got to stay vigilant
Stay
all.
vigilant because you're talking about like when they become irrelevant in sort of like the mainstream of flat Earth. You're right.
Well,
Is that
recently some have been called out.
yeah?
I mean, they've been named. So, all right. So, are they going to go away? Well, I don't know. They don't seem to be going away. It seems they're getting invited to go lots of different places. So, I don't know that it's really doing anything to call them out. So we can't just say, well, if they're getting invited to go there, then maybe they're okay, and maybe the guy who called them out is bad. Well, I'm not so sure. We've got to don't drop our guard. Do not think that everybody knows everything.
And that
Really?
yeah, that
Yeah.
brings me to activism because with flat Earth activism, we're overdue for a activism infiltrator, right? So we got to stay vigilant, and I'm sure a lot of us are out there, and we're keeping a good eye. And that's the
Uh,
one thing I'm worried about. But that should be easy to discern. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you
Because
suck, you're if you suck at it.
if you suck at activism and you hate your job, then you're probably an infiltrator. Oh my goodness, that's just funny. That's just
but
hilarious. Anyway,
Woo!
but that's not true, because I told you that there's this one channel. I can't believe people are actually watching him, and all he does is talk. And for the life of me, and he calls himself an activist. I'm there. What? He hasn't talked to one person. I mean, what's going on?
And it's nothing
Jeez.
personal against my our European brothers and sisters, but I can't understand a freaking word you guys are saying. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. One every 5 words.
Oh, because of their accents.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard.
No,
I think.
I'm just kidding. No, they do
No, I
wait.
great.
think.
They do great work.
I
They
was
are
gonna say
awesome.
you like Ray
Yeah.
Comfort, and he's from New Zealand, and he's got
Yeah,
a thick accent. Oh man.
yeah. No, no.
No,
I'm
it's
just
gotten
making it. I'm
better,
just
but
making a joke. Just making it funny.
So I used to fake an accent with people in my activism because I found that they would stop and listen more often and be less suspicious of my motives and more attentive. But though it could have been just placebo in my mind. But when you have a strange black man walking up to you on campus telling you the earth is flat, it's easy to get glitched out real fast. But
You
when
speak
when
British?
he's a black guy with an English accent,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Are you
it
walking
could
with
be
swagger?
Hello, mate. Cheerio. Do you know the Earth is flat?
as I'm walking as Republican as I can.
Well, Boxer, you really sound, and you are a very intelligent young man. You sound great, though. Your speech, you enunciate words. You are not ghetto at all.
Right, but that's scary. That's still scary to some people because I'm still they still that still occupies a category in people's mind. But when I'm British, it's people feel like
Oh.
they're not a black British man. That the earth is flat.
All
Yeah,
right.
I gotta start doing.
feeling insincere. I thought someone's gonna call me out. Like, so,
Yeah,
so,
don't. Yeah, don't do that. I mean, tell them you're not really, but just do it to be funny, I guess, and because let your yays be yay and your nay be nay. Don't try
Yeah.
to
Or I
deceive
could
people
turn into
for.
a calling thing. When I'm with the Greek, I appear as a Greek. When I'm with the Jew, I appear as a Jew.
Right.
It could go either way with that. We ain't no sin in it per se.
No. No. Yeah, you have to kind of fit in where you are, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. So let me see what else I have on here.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
gonna
let
have to.
anybody you. Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna have to use an Australian accent next time I go out flats making.
You did that
Yo, that was
well.
actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been practicing me Australian for a while now.
Yeah.
That's my
Very.
favorite Anglophone accent, and you do it so well.
Was that?
That's my least favorite Anglophone accent to hear, and you do it so well.
Oh, thank you. It's a
Oh.
subtle thing. You have to just do it subtly.
Oh wow.
Okay, the last thing I have under the heading is how to handle the press. Okay, the press sensationalizes everything, and this has to go right to behind the curve, because I'm so frustrated with that people who I thought should know better, they didn't, and they embarrassed themselves and the flat earth community in that movie or that documentary. So I am embarrassed for you guys, and I wish you had been a little smarter. If you were sincere people, you would have been smarter, I think. So how to handle the press is the press sensationalizes everything. The press cannot be trusted. We know that. And it has been that way for many, many years. I don't agree that the press cannot be handled, though. I think we can handle the press. We do not have to be at their mercy. We are not subservient to them. They are nothing, okay? You may have to say no to the press. You may have to think of a higher cause and say no. I'm not going to do an interview with you.
Just shake a bony finger at them and say, no,
No.
stop that. Stop it. Stop it right now. I'm serious, too. I'm serious.
Yeah, however, always record.
Hey, Boxer's mom.
Hello, Mom. So, however, you must always record everything they do with you so you can come back on them in some way. Okay, now I know Steve has a personal experience with that. I also have one, but I'll let Steve go first.
Oh yeah, I was. I'm sorry, I got feedback. I was interviewed for the Chicago Tribune for the Logan Paul video that's out today. And here, actually, I'll just
Say what?
Pull the article up. Hold on. But you can go ahead, Marilyn. I'll pull it up later.
Okay.
Yeah, screen share that if you can. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. So at the first conference, I went to that, and I drove down there 9 hours, and I stayed at a friend's house, so it was a half-hour away. But the press was there. They were doing interviews. They took two things out of my interview. One was where I said, well, you look far to the right, and then you scan all the way to the left, and you see the horizon is flat. So they took that, and I was on a television show over in Europe. It was some comedy show, and they put me up there and had me say that one line, and everybody laughed. And then Dell had that on and said, well, why are they laughing at her? She didn't say anything wrong. So it all depends on how it's perceived. They put this funny comical music to it, and then you're done. So I didn't really say anything wrong. See, if you do that, how they can twist things. So we have to be discerning. The other thing was I was holding the little spongy globe ball, and I gave a list of this represents like wars and destruction and lies, and I gave like a list. Well, Logan Paul used one of those, like the destruction. When I said that word, he used that in his promo for his video.
Yeah.
And
are you getting like a little cut, like a little 25-cent cut every time it gets played or something?
Yeah, I wish I had. But that was used somewhere else too, in a commercial. So yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do. But maybe we ought to start saying no, no to the press because you're all a bunch of jerks. But go
Yeah.
ahead, Steve.
So, luckily for me, I was actually one of the lucky ones. My little soiree with the press wasn't so traumatizing.